Hello there. Welcome to Breakfast All Day. How's it going? Good to see you. I'm Christy. That is Matt. That is Alonso. Next up for us is The Waterman, David Oyelowo's feature directorial debut.
Yes.
Alonso is going to tell you about it.
So Oyelowo plays a Navy man who has come back home only to discover that he doesn't have much of a relationship with his young son Gunnar, who's played by Lonnie Chavis from This Is Us, and the boy's mother and Oyelowo's wife, Mary, played by Rosario Dawson, has leukemia and is trying to fight that off. And so the son immediately responds by devouring medical textbooks and trying to figure out everything he can about leukemia. And I thought, oh God, please, let's not be the Book of Henry. But it's not, because instead he decides to look for the Waterman, which is a figure of local legend. This guy who has managed to cheat death and he has achieved immortality. He lives somewhere in the woods, and Gunnar winds up going with a young girl named Jo, who claims to have seen the Waterman. They get some information from a local mortician played by Alfred Molina, and as Gunnar and Jo get lost in the woods, it's up to the dad to go find them in a movie that borrows a lot from pretty much every kid movie in the 1980s that had the Amblin logo on it, but in a good way. I like this movie a lot. It is, it does a really kind of tricky tonal balance, and it goes from like dying mom to kids lost in the woods to, you know, possible mythical monster man. But it all comes together really well. Oyelowo feels you know, when we see a directorial debut from an actor, we know the performances are going to be good. They generally always bring that to the table. But I think he's a very assured visual storyteller, and the pacing is really good. You really get to know and care about all of these characters. I was really impressed. I like this movie a lot.
I was going to ask you, Alonso. I know that moms with cancer movies are often a heart tugger for you. How did you
Yeah,
feel watching this one?
I handled it well because, yeah, it's an easy way to push my buttons, but I will also bust you if you do it too much or too easily. And this one felt like Rosario Dawson is not playing this sort of like saint who's fading away. She is. You really get the sense of who this woman is,
Sabrina.
why it was unusual for somebody like her to wind up getting engaged or getting married to somebody who's in the military, because they have very kind of different views of the world and ways of being. But it's a rich character, and the movie, you know, like it mines that character for poignancy, but it doesn't fall back on it for sentimentality.
Yeah, I liked it a lot too, and yeah, it's very overtly Spielbergian in some ways. I mean, at the beginning, you see the kid's
ET
desk, and
lunchbox.
he's got an ET lunchbox on his desk. I was just going to say that.
Sorry.
It's okay, and just the loneliness and also the creativity that he has is just like a textbook Spielberg kid character. But if you're going to steal or borrow liberally, I should
Yes.
say, this is, of course,
Homage.
a wonderful, rich source from whom to borrow. And yeah, you're right. It's a tricky balance that he finds here, because it's not too overtly magical in a cheesy way. There's still, it's rooted and grounded in a realistic modern day setting. And the magical touches are like abstract enough
Yeah.
for a while to keep you guessing as to what's really happening here. Yeah, it's got a lot of Stand By Me in it. It's got a lot of Goonies in it for sure, as far as like kid on an adventure. So much so that I couldn't really tell for a while when this takes place. Right? There's
Yeah.
like an analog quality to it that suggests it takes place in a time before you could, you know, keep track of your kids
Via
24/7
GPS.
on their cell phones. It does take place now, but there is a really warm and an authentic kind of timeless quality to it. And the kid is great in it. Lonnie Chavis has like zero precocious kid to him. He's got a
Yeah.
really strong screen presence. I've never seen This Is Us, so I don't know. He's like a younger version of a character on This Is Us.
I've only seen the pilot. Yeah, I mean, he might be the kid version of Sterling K. Brown, but don't quote me on that because I don't watch the show
Yeah,
either.
Yeah.
I don't know either. Matt, what'd you think?
Yeah, I like this a lot. This, you're right. I was thinking that through the movie. I'm like, this feels like something I've seen before. Then the minute you see the ET lunchbox, I'm like, that's it, right? But look, like again, there's far worse movies to steal from, far worse styles to emulate.
Yeah.
You know, that peak Amblin early 80s, like that's that's some amazing filmmaking. And obviously it's got a lot of influence here on Oyelowo as a director. And I think he's fairly sure-handed in how he does this. I think he's cast two really good kids in this. Lonnie Chavis is great, but also the young girl, Amaya Miller, is also really good. And she's almost got a feeling like, no, I'm blanking on her name.
Natalie Dormer.
Freaky Friday, the original.
Jodie Foster.
Jodie Foster.
Like there's times that she feels a little bit like that same quality that Jodie Foster had, which is like a presence and awareness that belies her years. I also was impressed that I would buy that Lonnie Chavis is Rosario Dawson's son. I would buy that because they look just enough alike, like with their kind of wide set eyes. I was like, yeah, okay, I'll buy that. You know, she's good in this. Dawson is, you know, without a ton of screen time, like she makes the most of it, as she always does. Yeah, I really like this. And
I will say Oyelowo's American accent is a little Britishy, kind of like Eddie Marzan's is in Wrath of Man this week.
Yeah,
like, you're doing something and it's close to being region specific, but okay, I'll buy it.
It did not distract me.
Right. I mean, you know, Alfred Molina does what he does best, which is show up as this weird character in a couple of scenes and just fucking slays it. Right. Like, he's so good in this. And it's one of those things like, yes, we've seen Molina do a bunch of like crap, right? I mean, he's almost like one of our current versions of what Michael Caine would do. Right. But God, he's so good in this with such tiny amounts of screen time, but it helps make the movie. You know, Maria Bello shows up in this as
oh right, yeah.
Oyelowo's got this really great cast here, and he makes the most of it, and I'm pretty impressed.
It's definitely a thing that's interesting. I think as all of us reach a certain age where we start seeing what is influencing kind of the next generation of artists, you know, like, I don't know if y'all saw when Daniel Kaluuya hosted Saturday Night Live, he talked about how when he was like 9 years old, he won an award for writing a skit in school that was inspired by Keenan and Kel. So it meant so much for him to be able to work with Kenan Thompson. I'm like, okay, now I feel like Methuselah, you know? So yeah, we're going to see stuff like from the 80s and from the 90s and so on. Like each generation is going to spawn the people who grew up with that stuff and then turn it into something new. And so that's what Oyelowo is doing here with the 80s stuff and doing it really well. I can't wait to see what he does next.
Also, light denim wash 90s mom jeans are in.
Do they ever go out?
High-waisted, straight leg, light denim. Not a good look. Anyway, I'm saying 7.2. I was pleasantly surprised by this. It's quite lovely.
I'm giving it an 8. I think it's really terrific. I saw it last fall when it premiered at Toronto, and I had just seen One Night in Miami as well. So it was like, you know, these two really amazing directorial debuts from actors, and I really am excited to see what else they're going to bring to the table.
Yeah, I give it a 7. I'm right there with Christy. I think it's good, and I definitely want to see more from Oyelowo.
Okay, 7.4 is our number. The Waterman is where?
I want to say it's in theaters.
Okay. Yeah, it is.
Yes. Okay. So worth checking out. A good family outing. I think a movie that parents and kids will enjoy equally. So thanks for watching, everybody. Like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us at BeFastAllDay on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. We are in the midst of our recap of Hulu's The Handmaid's Tale. A lot of other fun stuff coming up, and all of it's exclusive to our subscribers. So you ought to be one. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.